There have been many instances where people are just simply utilizing their First Amendment and specifically the right of freedom of speech or the right to protest, and they have been punished for it, which is a violation of the First Amendment. Recently, there was a situation with a man named Mahmoud Khalil, who was a student leader and a political activist at Columbia University, and he was on campus protesting the war of Gaza, and for this, he was arrested by federal immigration authorities, even though he had committed no crime and was simply using his right to protest and the First Amendment. And even though he was a lawful, permanent, and abiding resident of the United States and attained a green card, he was still arrested and punished for his actions. And this whole situation was reported by the Washington NPR of March 14th. This case regarding Mahmoud Khalil was just one of many examples where the First Amendment seems to be violated, which prompts the question of, are recent government actions a sign that us Americans, are our First Amendments at risk? And the answer is yes. And today we're going to be discussing the three reasons why United States citizens' First Amendment rights are at risk. And reason number one is of the blocking of laws of child online safety and protection of privacy, and regarding basically their access of the internet and what they can and can't watch or access. Reason number two is President Trump's contradictions regarding his claims of the state of freedom of speech currently. And reason number three is the criminalization of doxing. We're going to start off with the California's online child safety laws, because around a month or two ago, um, there was a pitch for an online safety law to go, and it was blocked by a federal judge, which is a clear violation of the First Amendment. But according to the Verge Fox Media, the request for strengthening the privacy was denied by a California federal judge, and even another federal judge even agreed that this act was unconstitutional and a violation of the First Amendment. And this whole situation in guarding online safety laws just leads us to our next example, which is President Trump's recent claims or statement about the freedom of speech. He has claimed that he's brought freedom of speech back to America, and he has stopped all government censorship regarding freedom of speech and the First Amendment. But recently, according to the appeal blogs of April 18th, President Trump is fighting to deport and punish protesters who are pro-Palestinian, such as Mahmoud Khalil, for example, and that he's claimed that there are more arrests to come for people like Mahmoud Khalil who are protesting. And these two examples of both the blocking of the online safety laws and the request, and the contradiction of Trump's claims about the First Amendment and the status of it currently, leads us to our last point of the criminalization of doxing. So recently, a Georgia senator named John Albers made a case for making doxing a felony crime, and this case has actually advanced, even though there were many already controversial concerns for the freedom of speech. And according to a weblog post made by Georgia Recorder News Text of March 19th, the states that are it states that doxing is really just said by Senator Albers, it states that doxing is really just a form of harassment using the power of the internet. But there was also another statement made by a weblog posted by Georgia Recorder News Text of March 19th, stating that the Georgia General Assembly is working on criminalizing doxing, but they are facing controversy because others are claiming it will outlaw sharing any identifying information that's already public, because that is simply just utilizing the freedom of speech. You're sharing information that is already public to the internet. You can simply go search up and find this information anywhere, which doesn't make it like you're exposing or anything like that. And with these recent occurrences and all of these examples I used, such as rejecting the online child safety laws or President Trump's contradictions regarding the freedom of speech and where it stands today, and also the criminalization of doxing, this brings us back to the question of, are the recent actions of the government an indication that our First Amendment rights are at risk? And I believe the answer is yes. But going back to my opening example regarding Mahmoud Khalil and his arrest, this is just one of many examples of citizens being violated of their First Amendment. And after discussing these topics and these current events that have been happening today that are very controversial, we should take into account of our everyday lives that these situations aren't, they could always happen to anyone we know or even us. And that we should be careful about using our First Amendment because, quite frankly, even though Trump claims that it is back to normal and he's brought freedom of speech back to America, that he's clearly not in support of that. Thank you.